Well, Rollo always seems to crack to be the thorn between two roses. And joining me today is, well, we'll do it in the right order, is the lady who is the pre-selected candidate for Corangamite for the Liberal Party, Sarah Henderson. How are you, Sarah?
Graham, I'm very well on this brisk day in the heart of Geelong.
Yes, Kidman Avenue in Belmont. It's a bad hair day, though, isn't it?
It's not a great hair day, so you're not, yes, but it's all right. We'll just keep... If it covers my face, I'll just make the appropriate adjustments.
And we're joined by the Shadow Minister for Trade, Education, Apprenticeships
and
Training, the Honourable Christopher Pyne from the seat of Sturt in South Australia. Yes, he's a crow eater. Welcome to Geelong, Chris.
Thank you, Graham. It's great to be here.
Is it really great after last Saturday's performance by Adelaide?
But we almost won. That's the thing. It's amazing. Geelong, how many wins? 16 wins this season, and the Crows took you within 3 points. So 93-91. It was a great game.
Well, sincerely welcome to Geelong.
Thank you.
The visit here today certainly fits within your Shadow Ministry portfolio, and that is that we're not getting at this stage any of the promised trade training centres for the seats of Corio and Corangamite to date, as was outlined by the Prime Minister, Mr Rudd, and his Deputy, Julia Gillard.
Well, that's true, Graham, and I think unfortunately it's a story that's repeated all across Australia where the promises are big but the delivery is very small. And here in Geelong, in Corio and Corangamite, standing out the front of Oberon High School, this is where the Prime Minister made his announcement of $600 million of spending in Victoria so that every secondary school would have a trades training centre. And 2 years later, we're very short on delivery, so it's very disappointing, particularly for the young people in Geelong. A lot of jobs in Geelong are trades-based, and if they don't get those skills, they'll have to leave Geelong to look for work elsewhere, which means we lose them from the community locally.
I suppose one of the burning questions is the broken promise as it seems to stand right now. Have the federal government run out of funding?
Well, they've certainly raised and spent a lot of money, $315 billion of debt, $57 billion of deficit, and yet they still can't deliver a trades training centre for Oberon High School here in the electorate of Corangamite. What it says to me is that the local member, Darren Cheeseman, needs to work a lot harder, he needs to work a lot smarter, and if he doesn't, then there will be other opportunities at the election next year.
We were saying earlier when we were speaking with Michael Ronaldson that we go back to the halcyon days here in Geelong where we had a lot of technical schools, great educational values as far as the trade training is concerned. VCAL has come along at this stage, but it still doesn't substitute for the great basic trade training centres.
Well, the previous government was building Australian technical colleges all across Australia. They were just starting to actually deliver. The new government doesn't like those because they're not controlled by the state and they couldn't unionise the workforces. So they've actually abolished them, and the promise was that they'd abolish them but they'd replace them with trade training centres. Well, the abolition's gone ahead but the replacement hasn't come on stream, and I think that's very disappointing for parents, grandparents in this greater region, and particularly for the children who are looking for those kinds of skills.
I can see people out there listening and saying the old cliche, yes, you've told us what the problem is, but how do we fix it?
Well, we reopened the Australian technical colleges. They should never have been mothballed by the government. We put money into the Australian technical colleges. They were already established. The infrastructure was already there. They were already starting to teach students. They were bringing students from across a region who were interested in a trade together so that they had that sort of peer support. And we just need to reopen those, and the government should swallow its pride, stop being vain, and get on with delivering for young people.
Talking about young people, Sarah Henderson.
I'm actually older than Chris, actually.
Everyone's older than me, Graham.
Only just.
Only just. But you and I would well remember, as I said, the halcyon days of the old Geelong West Technical School in Moorabool Street, that was the Moorabool Street Tech in Moorabool Street, Geelong West Tech up in Minerva Road,
yes.
The East Geelong Tech out in East Geelong. They were great trade training bases, and yet they've gone and we've had nothing to replace them.
Well, Graham, I think the thing is, as Christopher said, it is about holding up Geelong as a great place to train. It is a a city that relies very much on its manufacturing base, on its trades and its skills. And what is really concerning, where I sit as the Liberal candidate for Corangamite, is that the member for Corangamite is actually not fighting for what we need in this community. I don't know what he's doing, but we have a very proud history of trade schools and training and education in this region, and on several fronts. I just don't think that he's fighting for what we need. And from my point of view, that's the absolute responsibility as a local Member of Parliament.
I mentioned to Michael Ronaldson the fact that nowadays we're seeing the gender-based move in the trade area from predominantly male to both male and female in a lot of the basic trades like motor mechanics, electricians, fitting and turning. So it becomes a very essential part of our education structure, the trade training centres.
Absolutely, and it's all about opportunity and about equal opportunity. And what we're really worried about is that more and more young people in Geelong are going to go elsewhere, not just Geelong, right through Corangamite, are going to go elsewhere to find jobs. And that this region, which so desperately needs to create those educational opportunities and those job opportunities for young people, is missing out.
How have you been travelling since you polished at the supermarkets?
Doing very well. Yeah, we've been very, very busy. We've actually had been very busy talking to parents and teachers and students about the changes to the youth allowance. We've been holding forums in Colac and Geelong because, again, this is another example where these changes to the youth allowance fundamentally discriminate against students living in rural and regional areas. And it's an issue that's causing great concern, Graham. So I'm certainly getting out there in the community and talking to lots and lots of students and parents and teachers about what the problems are and how we, as the opposition, are planning to fix this.
And Chris, from your viewpoint, major elements of the current position of the opposition, particularly in the area of apprenticeships and training and education, there are a huge amount of opportunities for a government to lead by example.
Well, there is, and unfortunately the government's changes to the youth allowance, as Sarah mentioned, actually mitigate directly against rural and regional students getting the same opportunities as kids in the city. Now, this is a real problem. The youth allowance changes need to be revisited by the government. Rural students are going to miss out. Their dreams of tertiary education are going to be shattered, and the government needs to recognise that they've made a mistake. Regardless of whether the opposition's pointed it out or not, they just need to change it and fix it so that rural students aren't missing out as they have been.
We thank Chris Pine all the way from the electorate of Sturt in South Australia. Welcome again. Thank you for coming down to Geelong.
It's a pleasure, Graham. It's a pleasure.
And our own, yes, she was born in Geelong, educated in Geelong, and still lives here in Geelong. Sarah Henderson, thanks very much for your time.
Graham, great to see you again.
And let's give Chris a little bit of a message. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
As we go to a break here on News Geelong.